Hello, 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 hello. I have a rose, a blue rose, for my dear friend and angel soul, Barbara, and also for my dear friend and angel soul, Birgit. They are there, nothing gets lost. They are not in human form anymore. They live in the Amazon rainforest now as parrots, and they are finding each other, and they're gonna be a couple. It's very beautiful. It smells real nice, this rose. It smells like a peachy vanilla, Play-Doh sort of. Peachy vanilla Play-Doh strawberry mix. Very nice, very awesome. Yeah, so I want to make an in vitro dog with this. For that, I'm going to be using some packaging materials. But before I get into this, I need my concentration for either one of these, either talking or doing this. So I just want to mention that I want to talk about bullying, I want to talk about shaming, and this is a big subject on the internet. Big subject, people lash out by shaming people, always, dumb shaming people. And I need to say something to this. Everyone, and I know why they do it, they feel victimized by the people who they call dumb. And they may not be fully aware of this, but that's what's going on underneath. That's why people do this. They feel victimized by them. They feel wronged by them. They feel like the so-called dumb people are not being responsible, and they are just having fun and ruining the planet and making the world terrible. And so I understand their point of view, but I also understand the point of view of the so-called dumb person. First of all, almost every single person except for Robert and Bindi Irwin. Okay, so those are the two sane people in the world. Um, I would say almost everyone else is psychologically damaged by their parents or caregivers during childhood. So almost everyone else has been damaged, and it's a tragedy. It's horrific, and people act that out very differently in social settings. Some people will lash out all the time because they feel wronged, and other people act out by taking substances. Other people act out by with sexual things, or all kinds of different ways of people, all kinds of ways of escaping the actuality, escaping, with religion, of course, with denial, escaping the actual situation, the painful situation, and in particular, the emotional pain that comes up, and that is often triggered in the present moment. So they are trying to escape from this. It feels really bad, so they escape from it. They run away from it by bullying someone, by shaming people, by hateful behavior, by hating, by terrible, terrible anger attacks, with violence also, verbal violence or physical violence, sexual misconduct, raping and worse, and Zado behavior, all kinds of different ways that people escape from their own emotional pain. The pain that they call tedious, actually. Situations in life that they call tedious or boring. What does it actually mean, tedious and boring? What that means is the childhood pain comes up, and the childhood pain can come up in all kinds of different versions. It can even come up through a discrepancy between the now moment and the past. Like, for example, when someone feels really bad and another person comes along and feels really good and they whistle and they feel good, then the person who feels bad feels almost cheated a little bit by that other person, because misery loves company. One feels deserted by the happy-go-lucky person when we feel very depressed. And I've been there many times, so I know exactly how it feels. So the same happens with childhood pain, and Arthur Janov calls this mechanism of making things miserable in the present life. He calls that repetition compulsion and the need for homeostasis. Homeostasis between the past trauma and the present situation that they're in. So when they actually a happy, good present situation can can funnel up that pain in almost like an avalanche and like a fountain. It can just shoot up suddenly, because like water, when you put ink into water, the water has the tendency to immediately mix it all up. Okay, or in air as well. There's a gas coming into a room, it will in a very short time mix up with the air of the entire room. The same with emotional pain. You create a wonderful situation, someone says to you, I love you. It happened to me yesterday in the chat room. And because I really love every living being, and I feel all of you. I feel everyone. I even feel the real damn destroyed brains. I mean, I can't fully understand it because I can't put myself fully into their shoes, but I even understand them because I know that the people who destroy someone else physically, it's another living being, those people are so destroyed on the inside. They suffer so horrifically that I cannot possibly imagine. They could never sit here and make something with clay, because they're so destroyed, so damaged on the inside. So for someone like this, first of all, if I say to a very violent person that comes from Islam, I say to someone like this, I care about you. The only way they will understand it is in a sexual way. So they will go, oh great, I got a sucker here. I can fully take advantage of her on every level, physically and financially, and then I can cut off her head because she's not a Muslim. Okay, so we need to be very realistic about this society, very realistic. Okay. Yes, I'm Islamophobe. I'm also a religiophobe. I really have a problem with religion and with dogmatization and with any kind of fascism where people jump on a bandwagon with anything, any kind of thought dictation. So for someone like this, someone from the Middle Eastern world that is where everybody is extremely damaged psychologically, so damaged that it would require a God level soul that is so advanced that that person will constantly question it all. And even as a child, it starts, you can see this very early. You can see it in a 2-year old, even in a 1-year old, whether that is an advanced soul or not. So I have seen it. I have seen baby souls in babies also. And I've seen babies bullying adults, real babies, real toddlers. I've seen this. That was very scary for me to see. It's like, ooh, how is that person going to turn out later on? You know, definitely going straight into the high security prison at some point. So, and don't even want to think about what they might do to other living beings. But yeah, when they are baby souls, they come straight from the stream of sorrow. Jiddu Krishnamurti talked about this in detail, how that it's like it's an energetic stream. And when people don't resolve their emotional and energetic issues in their lifetime, their their ego energy will go straight back to the stream of sorrow. So they will continue to add to back into it, and then it will be picked up by others, and will come back and back and back and back, again and again and again. So we want to heal the entire stream of sorrow. So that is kind of what I'm aiming for. As you know, I can't do it. People have to help me with this. But that's why we're in a physical body, and I know a lot of people will not go along with this, but that's okay. You know, we all have the right to our views and to our intuitions and so on. So this is just my personal intuition about it, that we're in a physical body in order to learn. You don't learn if you're floating around in in orbit without a body and without any kind of pain and without any kind of resistance training, you know, physical or mental resistance training. That's what this school is all about. It's not about having the red carpet rolled out for us, you know. If that happens, actually a tragedy, because those people who have like Kim Jong-un or some people that I have been friends with in the past, so people that I love very much. When they were in their physical body, particular one woman who is no longer in the human body, but when she was in her human body, her whole life she had the red carpet rolled out for her. She had a traumatic childhood, but the way she acted this out was into huge ego, huge ego clinging. And it was all about, she was clinging to this having a high status in society, and that's of course was given to her by her parents, because that was, you know, what they were all clinging to, because other than that they were all dysfunctional and violent and totally mentally unstable. So the ego clung to the only thing that they could think of, which was their high status, And then she acted it out her entire life, and people fell for that because most people's egos cater to those egos that are even bigger than their own egos. Eckhart Tolle observed that too. I thought that was interesting that what he said. It makes a lot of sense. Of course, people cater to the ego that's even bigger. The lead singer syndrome. The leader type of the strong horse. So I love all horses and all beings. So, but that's what people act out with, and that's what she acted out on. And so people catered to her hand and foot, rolled out the red carpet, royalty treatment here and there. Her husband, that's all he did, catering and catering and catering until he got leukemia. Okay? So, because obviously, then he had to take vacations from her. He had to travel, because he was a diplomat, he had an excuse. I have to go to this country, I got to go to this country, I got to talk to those people and those leaders. And he has to do it right now, and they only have one bedroom for him, or, he will have an excuse to get away from her because he couldn't stand it, the demanding nature, the demanding relationship. Very stressful. So yeah, and so he stood in then he had affairs, of course, and he stood in this tug of war on the inside, and an internal tug of war. If it gets out of hand, if it really escalates, it will end up in leukemia, because that is the illness, that's the immune illness that is completely representative for an internal contradiction and conflict. So when there's an internal battle going on between this belief and that belief, and completely tore this man apart. He was also a scientist, and at the same time he was a fundamentalist. So that also added to it. There were a lot of things that tore him apart. It's very, very awful. Very terrible. Thank goodness for the internet that we have now smart brains who are giving people reality checks, who are telling people you are deluded. You are deluded with your religion. You are hurting yourselves with it. There are a bunch of smart brains that are giving people reality checks, okay, including Gary in Mentem. I really respect him for this. This is very good. And he has the right to be rude. You have the right to be rude. The only thing that I want to talk about today is that I find very important, and I'm not putting the gun on anyone's head. I'm just giving some fact checks, some feedback on it. If you insult people, what happens with them in most people is they will retract, because it is the same pain from childhood, and they will retract to that what they know the best, and that is what their ego has been clinging to all along. And that's what you have been criticizing. The very thing that you criticize, they will retract into it even more, because that's the only refuge they have, or that's the only refuge they think they have. Of course, that's not the only refuge they have, but that's what they believe. They have been brainwashed, they have been drilled in that direction. So that's what they head back to. That's what they clutter themselves up with even more. They retreat back deeper and deeper into that castle, into that armor of religiousness and all these indoctrinated fears, the collective fears that have been put on them. And And I can understand how they are feeling. They have been shamed already by their parents. Now they're being shamed some more for the very thing that the parents have drilled into them. So now they are torn apart on the inside. They don't know where to go. Hating someone, insulting someone is never going to work. It will never work. It will just make people more neurotic, more fearful, more depressed. It can cause people to commit suicide. Let's not do this. Let's not go. That's just my personal appeal to Gary and the whole world, to everyone. Let's not go that direction anymore. You have been shamed. Everyone has been shamed because that's how the egos know how to maneuver their way through life, by shaming their children, by shaming other people. It's a constant shaming cycle that's going on. Dumb shaming, some people do smart shaming, some people do good grammar shaming, other people do gay shaming and trans shaming and this shaming and that shaming. It's a constant shaming going on. And I just have to say to this that whatever people are in whatever mind state they are, okay, they are obviously not well when they are violent, of course, but shaming them for being violent is not going to help them. It's just going to make them retreat more into the ways that they have been drilled with. So, and if someone, and in the same way, I'm not gonna shame anyone who is shaming either. So, because they do it because they have been shamed. So, we need to get out of that cycle. And you cannot shame someone for being gay or trans because, and that's very important, I write about this all the time to people. I want to make this very clear in this video. I talked about this many times before. The first studies about this came out when I was in my last year of high school in 1989. That's when the first studies came out in the Psychologie to heute, Psychology Today, the German magazine, the German version of Psychology Today. And it was a long article about the discoveries that being a homosexual or being in any way gender mixed or deviated, whatever you want to call it, I don't say deviated in a judgmental way, but deviated away from the either or, being somewhere in between extreme feminine or extreme masculine. And there is a scale, you can take a test on that, where your brain is in that way. So my husband and I did the test, and we came out I'm the extreme female and he's the extreme male, that was interesting to see. So I get accused of being tranny. No, I'm totally not. Okay, and I'm very grateful. I may look dorky and all of this, but no, I am not that what I'm accused of all the time. I'm a dorky smart person. Yes, there are smart women out there. That's the case. Okay, so the shaming has to stop. Okay, take the test and you know where you are. And there are people who have a more male brain and a female body, or they have a female body and a completely male brain, or vice versa. Okay, and it is a tragic situation for those people. It's horrifically tragic, that thing by itself. Then they're being shamed on top of it. Okay, and so they came out with a study where they found this actually happens when that happens in a population that is overpopulated, and it happens because of too much stress, social psychological stress. Okay, so when the mother is pregnant, the infant, the 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 offspring, the growing embryo, in humans it is the third month of fetal development, where the gender is becomes developed, fully developed, so in either male or female. Okay. When there is a stress happening, when the mother experiences psychological, social stress, very enormous stress, where she feels like, there's no way out, I can't get away from, there's shooting, there's this, and this is what's happening in humanity, particularly those people that are being put in a psychological vice of some sort. That's why I always say, don't have children, please. Don't put your children through this. Don't make another living being experience pain. So that's why so many children today, and the young generation, has such a large percentage of people who are gay or trans. Okay, so many of them, because the mother experienced stress during the third month of fetal development. Okay, and it's set for life. That doesn't repair itself. I don't think it repairs itself. This is that's biologically set. Okay? So for all the fundamentalists out there who are constantly shaming and judging those people, it's not their fault and it's not their choices. Okay? It it's not your choice what your brain, and this mainly the brain dominates the gender more actually than the body. The body, of course, is the reproductive part, but if you have a woman, and I watched some of these documentary films because I think that's very interesting, that this one woman in particular, real beautiful woman, with everything reproductive, everything fully woman, right? But the brain is male. Okay, so she grows up totally confused, then has her breasts amputated, has sex change operation done, and transforms herself from this beautiful, stunning looking woman into this mega muscular truck driver guy. You would never ever expect that person having been a woman before. So, but how does this come about? Because the brain is male. Okay, that's how it comes about. She's never felt comfortable in the role of the girl. Never, her entire life. It starts very early. The gender identification starts very, very early. Like starts like 3 or 4 or something. Before the body becomes mature, the brain is already geared in this particular way. So it is a tragedy for those people. It's a real, real tragedy. Must be absolutely horrific. So please have compassion for those people. Please feel for them, and be grateful. Be grateful if you are fully straight, if you are fully woman or fully man. Be grateful for that. Be deeply grateful for that. And have compassion for those people who don't have that. So that is my message for the world. And never shame someone. Never shame someone for not having enough education, or for not understanding something, or for being confused, or for being religious. You know, don't shame these people. Explain why religion doesn't work. Explain it in a kind way. Explain it in a peaceful way. Hate is not going to help anyone. Hate is not going to solve any problem. War is not going to solve any problem. Neither physical war nor mental war. And that's what you guys are doing. You're doing mental war on each other. That causes severe stress, more suffering, more and more and more suffering. People retreating more and more and more into their own aggression because of this. A lot of people let it out on innocent beings. Let's not go there, please. It really, really worries me. Think about this all the time. Makes me real sad. I cry and cry and cry over this. Seeing the violence, the brutality, just the verbal brutality in the world. And mocking someone, it's an extreme psychological violence, to mock someone, have this bitter mocking. There's extreme hate behind it. Passive aggression is just as hateful and just as damaging. It can cause so much damage in people, so much suffering. You have to know that that's a direction you cannot go in. Okay? You have to come back to ground zero. You have to come back to yourself. As hard as it is, we have to come back to ourselves. I know that hate, being in that state of hate and lashing out, you feel more alive, you feel like you don't feel your pain that much in that moment. I know, I've been there many times. But even to just be in that state alone, not even mentioning the way we lash out on others, but just for us being in that state is very damaging for ourselves, for our minds. It's very detrimental to be in that state. It feels better than total helplessness and vulnerability, but it is not better. Okay? It's not better. It just feels better in that moment. It's not better. We need to come way out of. And yeah, it is a little bit better than total devastation, totally being suicidal. Definitely. I've been in all of these states, in every single one. I've been through this many, many times. I've been through hell in my life. So I know what I'm talking about. I know how all of these different states feel. And I know these different act outs. And I know all of it, inside out. So I know that those states, we need to get out of it. Tony Robbins talked about it all the time. You need to get out of the state of being overwhelmed. You cannot allow yourself, ever, to get into a state of being overwhelmed or being violently aggressive and hateful and all of this. That's not a healthy state to be in. We have to come out of this. People who are hateful, they also hate themselves, because that's always the case. You need to come out of this. You need to love yourself. Okay, you need to love your bodies. Very, very important. You need to be good to your bodies. You cannot do substance abusing. Okay, if you are addicted to something, if you are a smoker, you have to transition to vaping. You have to do it. I'm glad Gary did that. So, but I have seen him with an actual cigarette. Not just, he hasn't been always vaping for the last 6 years, or as he claims. he has also, I have seen videos of him with an actual cigarette in between too. So, and and it's painful for me to see that, to see what he has been doing to himself. But I also, at the same time, I know where it's coming from. I know why. So I think this is important to talk about these things. When you put yourself out there with your videos, don't be surprised, don't be at all surprised if some people will start to use you as as the subject as the subject of this type of discussion. Yeah. And they don't do it in a way to hurt you. You just happen to be out there, just like Vin Diesel is out there. Okay, and people talk about Vin Diesel, and I think he smokes too. And people talk about these people and use those as examples that are out there. If you're out there, expect that people will use you as an example for this. So that's what I'm doing. I'm not pawning this all off on you and saying, oh, you are like the worst, or you are this or that, or you are the prototype or something. No, not at all. You just happen to be a public person. And I'm a public person. So I can't be surprised if someone else will talk about me and about my mental illness and will come to conclusions or something. So my battery is low. I will do this later here. Oops. I have to plug this in, otherwise it will shut off, and I don't want that to happen. I should have charged it up first. Here's my in vitro meat collection. So I got to charge it up. But yeah, we are public now. I don't have that many fans as Gary has, and I have no fan actually. So okay, here, turn this on. But I'm public in that sense. I'm public because I think it is important to discuss these things. It's important to be public. That's what I think. Everyone should be public. Okay. I hope this works. This is upside down now, I guess. It's terrible when this happens. And then it's all dark and everything, but whatever. The subject is what's important. We need to be public. We need to talk about our stuff, and we should expect that other people will use us as an example to talk about a specific psychological subject, and it's good when that happens. It's good to be an example of something. And you go through life, you suffer, and other people can identify with you, they feel understood, and B, they can learn from your own healing process and what you're going through. So that's why I recommend to people, to anyone, go through the healing process. You go from the actual cig to the vape, and that's a wonderful step. Okay, and then you want to taper it off. You want to gradually get off the nicotine. Okay, and you want to substitute that with something better, like ginseng, for example, ginseng elixir that you can put into it. There are so many ways. There are so many herbs, or kratom, a fantastic analgesic, fantastically. People had so much success with it. They even were able to quit heroin and cocaine and all these, or Vicodin, all these things that are so detrimental for people's health. They were able to quit with kratom. Kratom doesn't even have side effects, and it works just as well. is such an amazing herb. There are herbs on this planet that are so amazing and so powerful. You would be so surprised. But you cannot go to a doctor to have all of this knowledge for you. You have to do that legwork yourself. That is our responsibility. Each person has the responsibility to research these things, okay, and not be spending their time watching soap operas or going into chat rooms fighting with people or whatever people are doing, or going to bars, or engaging in mating behavior, or whatever people are constantly doing just to get more away from the pain. No, you actually have a responsibility, every single one of us. You first of all have the responsibility to research, to find out how you can heal yourself, how you can pull yourself up on your own bootstraps. And we can do it. People always use this example, this analogy, like as if that was impossible. It's not impossible. I have done it. Everyone can do it. If I can do it, everyone can do it too. I'm not a rocket scientist. I can do it. I'm not that particularly willpowered, or so I'm not the very special talented person or something. I just I wanted to do this. I wanted to find out how I can heal myself. I saw, I've been through so many therapies and so many therapists and people in my whole life. It started as a child. So I saw that a lot of people just don't know anything. They don't have any knowledge. I felt like, why am I going? That's like going to a grocery store and asking them if they can help me with my I don't know, with my psychological problems or whatever. It's like, it's the same as going to the doctor usually, or a therapist. They don't have any knowledge. They are just as clueless as everyone else is, and they don't have that great of a training. So that's why it is important that every single person does that researching work themselves. You have to research, you have to observe everything very critically, and you have to take internal notes or notes in your computer, and you have to compare the information. You have to put things to the test. That's very important. You have to test on yourself. Don't test on others. Don't test on animals. Test on yourselves, all the researchers out there, the actual scientists. Test on yourselves, Be Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. That's what I always refer to myself as. Particularly when I was drinking, I became Mr. Hyde. So I didn't want to be Mr. Hyde anymore. So I'd rather be Dr. Jekyll. So, and that's what I recommend to everyone, become your own professors, become your own physicians, become your own nutritionists, and learn something about yourselves, and put an effort into it, to find out about all the herbs that are out there that are so amazing, that can transition you out of the nicotine addiction or the Vicodin addictions or the food addictions. So there are amazing foods. I'm making video. Amazing foods out there that can transition us away from the stuff that is not good for us. So there's so much out there, and there are also so many people out there who have been getting into this and who are offering this information. I'm so infinitely grateful for every person who has gotten deeper into herbology and who has put that information out there on websites and blogs. I'm so infinitely grateful to all of you, you know. So those are the ones that take us by the hand and lead us into a better world. And each person is responsible for making the world better. You can't just lean back and be bitching all day long, you know. You have to take charge of your life and make your life better. This is so incredibly important. And no more shaming, no more hurting the people that are already shamed and hurting. We want to turn this around and make it better. Each person has the responsibility to make this world better. Okay, you guys take care. Bye bye. Peace out.